It has a built-in rechargeable battery, a torch, and NCV functionality, and it can also be purchased with all the required leads and adapters that you would need to measure just about anything. So if you're looking for a multimeter that will do all the basics, that comes with everything, and you're on a budget, then maybe the Aneng 683 Smart Multimeter is for you. Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. If you're new here, hello and welcome to the channel, and I hope you like today's video. If you like smart home and automotive technology content, then hit that subscribe button, because that's what you're going to see on this channel. In today's video, I'm going to be reviewing something which I don't review a lot of, but I thought I would give all the car tech lovers of this channel something a little bit different for a change. If you're not interested in this type of thing, then don't worry, there is a lot more really cool car tech coming before the end of the year, which you will love. Well, hopefully you will anyway. From time to time, I like to upgrade my toolbox and my test equipment. So a few weeks ago, I decided to upgrade my multimeter to this, the Aneng Smart 683 multimeter. And so far, after testing it for the last couple of weeks, I like it. Up until now, I have been using this multimeter, which is the Aneng 681. As you can see, they look close to identical, and some of the features are very similar as well. But the Aneng 683 is obviously a different device, and in a good way. First of all, the Aneng 683 is fully touchscreen controlled, apart from the single button here on the side, which is the power button, and when pressed and held for a couple of seconds, turns the multimeter on or off. Just like the 681, the 683 is also a very cost-effective multimeter to purchase, and it also has a built-in rechargeable 2800 milliamp battery rated at 3.7 volts. This is a feature I absolutely love with this device as well, because this means when the battery gets low, which the device will tell you by displaying a battery symbol on the screen, you can simply just recharge it through the USB socket here on the back, using the supplied USB-C cable. With your USB cable plugged into the back of the device, there will be a red light here on the front that indicates the device is charging, and when fully charged, that red light will turn green. When the multimeter battery is really low, it will take approximately 1 hour for it to be fully charged again. The Aneng 683 does also have an automatic power off feature, so if the meter is not being used, it will turn itself off after approximately 15 minutes to save battery power. Before it turns itself off, it will warn you it's going to do this by beeping 5 times, approximately 60 seconds before it turns itself off. The 683 is available in 2 different colors, black or red like this one, and it's also a nice and small compact size multimeter to carry around with you, measuring in at 150 millimeters long by 74 millimeters wide by 24, and it's light in weight as well at only 2,000 grams. This multimeter also comes supplied in this nice little protective case. I only purchased the basic package, and with that you get 1 set of test leads, a temperature probe, and of course the USB-C cable. If needed, extra leads and adapters can also be purchased with the optional Pro package at additional cost. And again, just like the 681, the 683 also has a built-in LED torch as well, just on the top of the multimeter here, which you turn on and off by holding your finger on the torch button icon down here for approximately 3 seconds. And the torch turns on. The torch does need to be turned off manually though. If you don't manually turn it off, it will turn itself off with the auto shutdown feature, or else when you physically turn the multimeter off with the power button. The torch is very low powered though, so if you do forget to turn it off, it will hardly have any negative effect on the battery life at all. So what is the Aneng 683 capable of measuring? Well, it does all the basics you would expect from a low-cost multimeter. So it can measure DC voltage, AC and DC current, resistance, capacitance. It supports diode testing, continuity testing, as well as temperature and frequency reading. It also has a built-in electrical field feature as well, also known as NCV, non-contact voltage, which allows you to test for mains voltage wirelessly. And as you're going to see in this video, it works really well. So anyway, in saying that, I think now would be a perfect time to put this Aneng 683 multimeter to the test. So let's do that. And we'll start with some DC voltage testing. Okay, so the Aneng 683 is capable of reading any DC voltage in the range of 0 volts DC to 1000 volts DC. So let's start with testing some batteries here on the table, and then we will move on to some other things. So I've got a 9 volt battery, a 1.5 volt battery, and a 1.2 volt battery. So as far as accuracy is concerned, the difference between these two will be interesting. But we're going to start with the 9 volt battery. .64 volts. Yes, that's correct. Okay, that one was successful. Now the 1.5 volt battery. Oops. .435. Yep, that's correct. This battery is a little tiny bit low because I haven't fully charged it. It is a rechargeable battery. And now the 1.2 volt battery. .243 volts. Okay, so as far as accuracy is concerned, it is actually pretty good. So for the tests we have tried so far, it's safe to say that when it comes to DC voltage testing, the 683 works very well. But now I have 2 more challenges for it. Now, because my life is heavily based around working on cars a lot of the time, I bought this multimeter hoping it would be good for that purpose. So I have the 683 connected to my car battery at the moment, and as you can see, it's telling me that my car's battery voltage is 12.11 volts, which when the car is not running would be correct. Now let's start the car. Okay, and now the Aneng 683 is telling me the battery voltage is 14.36 volts, which would also be correct. So now I also know that my alternator is functioning correctly and charging my battery. Now on to the next test. When working on your car, having a fast response multimeter is very important. And because the 683 is a low-cost multimeter, I'm going to guess the 683 might fail this test, because the low-cost multimeters usually do. Anyway, let's say I'm installing a car alarm or another blind spot monitoring system. One wire I'm going to need to test for is the turn signal wire. I know the wiring in my car very well, so I have connected the 683 to the correct wire. And now once I turn on the turn signals, the 683 should detect the alternating voltage on this wire as the turn signal is flashing. If the response time of the 683 is fast enough, of course. So let's find out. Okay, that's interesting. The response time from the 683 is definitely too slow to detect this faster alternating voltage. However, it is still doing a pretty good job of it. You see, there are a lot of multimeters that won't detect anything in this scenario, so I have to give the 683 some credit for this. The voltage is definitely not 100% correct, but you could definitely still use it to do a job like this. So I am kind of impressed, because as I said, a lot of low-cost multimeters completely fail this test. But that's not exactly the case with the 683. By the way, if you want to know how this works with a multimeter that has a faster response time, it works like this. As you can see, this Vici multimeter has a faster response time, so it's able to keep up with the faster alternating voltage signal. Okay, now let's try some AC voltage testing. The Aneng 683 is capable of reading any AC voltage in the range of 0 volts to 750 volts AC. So of course, just like any other multimeter, if you needed to, using the test probes, you could measure the mains voltage at your wall socket. So let's give that a try. Turn the power on. And it measures 240 volts exactly. And that's exactly correct. Turn the power off. Now, while that works fine, there is actually another feature that the Aneng 683 has for live mains voltage testing. And that is a live mains voltage probing test feature. And to use that, you need to disconnect the background probe test lead from the multimeter altogether. You can get this out of the way because we don't need it anymore. Then you need to put the multimeter into live mode, like that. And now using a single test probe, you can test for live mains voltage, and the Aneng 683 will find it. And when it does, this is how it looks. Turn the power on, turn the power off, turn the power on, turn the power off. And now, here's the disclaimer. Don't try this at home because this is high mains voltage and it is dangerous. You could get seriously hurt. However, with the Aneng 683, you don't need to put yourself in danger at all, thanks to its built-in NCV feature. The NCV feature, non-contact voltage, is by far the safest way to measure AC voltage, because all you need to do is hold the Aneng 683 near, for example, again, a mains power outlet, and it will tell you if voltage is detected, which of course there will be unless you have turned the power to your entire house off. So let's try that. Notice it also has a detection strength meter as well. Continuity testing, another feature that, like most multimeters, is also built into the Aneng 683, and one that I personally use a lot, and that's because this feature is really useful. So as an example, you could test for continuity across a fuse in your car's fuse box to determine whether it is blown or not. So let's try that. Test out this 20 amp fuse here. Now, generally testing for voltage on each side of the fuse is the best way to do this, but for this demonstration it's fine. Another really useful thing to use the continuity feature for is testing for a broken wire, or you can test things such as switches to make sure that they're working, or any other electrical connections. So if you're ever looking for a continuity meter, then that's another feature that the Aneng 683 has built into it, and it works really well. Measuring temperature. The Aneng 683 can measure temperatures between negative 40 degrees and 1000 degrees Celsius, or 1830 degrees Fahrenheit. So using the supply temperature probe here that comes with the 683, for this demonstration I have a cup of cold water and a cup of hot water. So starting off with the cup of cold water, let's stick the temperature probe into it now and see what happens. And at the moment it's saying 90 degrees Celsius, and that would be about room temperature now, so that's correct. So we'll stick it in. There won't be a huge change because when I'm referring to cold water, I'm referring to water straight out of the tap. So definitely not ice cold, or it's just room temperature cold really. So as you can see, there's not much difference, and that would be correct. Okay, now let's put the temperature probe into the glass of hot water. And when I say hot, I mean really hot, because this is straight from the kettle, so I've just boiled it. And it's about 70 degrees Celsius, which would also be correct. Now, of course, it does also have a feature allowing you to switch between Celsius and Fahrenheit, so let's try that out. So 70 degrees Celsius is 156 degrees, roughly, Fahrenheit, according to the Aneng 683, and that would be about right. Okay, so not bad at all. So what are we going to try next? Let's try measuring resistance. Okay, for the resistance test, I'm going to try measuring one of these quarter watt 470 ohm resistors, and then I'll try and measure a 1K 1000 ohm in-circuit surface mount resistor as well on the circuit board. Neither of these will be any problem for the 683, as it is able to read any resistance from 0 ohms to 60 mega ohms. So let's start with the 470 ohm resistor. And it measures the 470 ohm resistor at 464.5 ohms. So that's definitely close enough. That's perfectly normal for a multimeter. Now let's try the in-circuit test. So this is a 1K resistor, so that's 1000 ohms, which it's measuring at 0.997K. And again, that is perfectly correct. Okay, so that's the resistance test. That's not bad. So just as I expected, the Aneng 683 passes the resistance measuring tests with ease. Okay, frequency testing. For this demonstration, I'm going to measure the frequency of the alternating current from a power outlet in my office, which I currently have this extension cord plugged into. This should read approximately 50 Hz, which is correct for New Zealand. It does vary slightly across the rest of the world. For example, in America, I think it's around 60 Hz. This test is done the same way as reading AC voltage, but you just need to ensure you set the multimeter to the frequency measuring setting first. So let's try it. And once again, please don't try this at home. It is dangerous and you can get seriously hurt trying this, as this is still high voltage we're playing with. So I don't recommend it. Okay, so I'm going to stick the multimeter probes into this plug here. Like that. And now I'm going to set the multimeter to the Hertz setting. I'm actually going to set it to the voltage setting, which also has Hertz as well, which is that one there. Now I'm going to turn the power on. Okay, and as you can see, the Aneng 683 says that the voltage is 240.3 volts AC, which is correct, and the frequency is approximately 50 Hz, which is also correct. So far, the Aneng 683 has done incredibly well with all the tests I have thrown at it. Let's see if I can catch it out though, as I still have one more challenge for it. And for the final challenge, I'm going to measure the AC current draw of this LED bulb. Now, because this LED bulb would use around 10 watts of electricity, the current draw should be approximately 40 to 50 milliamps. So I'm interested to see what the Aneng 683 says. So let's turn on the power and see what happens. But first, it's extremely important to remember that when measuring current, the red multimeter probe test lead must be unplugged from this connection here and plugged into this connection here. As you can see, I have already done. Failure to do this will most likely destroy your multimeter. Okay, I'm going to turn on the power now. Okay, according to the Aneng 683, this LED bulb is drawing approximately 48 milliamps. So I was about right. And this is also a perfect example of why you should use LED lighting in your home. It definitely will save you from a very expensive power bill. So once again, the Aneng 683 has succeeded at this test as well. So it seems that there's not much the Aneng 683 cannot do. Okay, so it's not going to measure things such as inductance or luminance, but those are also not really jobs that a multimeter is designed to do. And sure, there may be other multimeters that have a few more extra features, but I have to admit the Aneng 683 does do a pretty good job of what it is designed to do, and that's still a lot. Now, of course, there are still a few other things which I have not tested using the Aneng 683, such as capacitance reading, DC current reading, sine RMS, diode testing, but I think the tests I have done are enough to judge the Aneng 683 is a relatively good multimeter to use for anyone looking for a multimeter that can do the basics and are on a budget as well. Now, if you're like me, and you're just upgrading from the Aneng 681, and you already have the Pro package like this one here, These test leads and adapters will work with the 683 as well. However, in saying that, a spare set of test leads is always worth having, as just with all multimeters, the test leads do eventually break. Now, I definitely don't consider myself an expert when it comes to multimeters, but for me personally, the Aneng 683 here does pretty much everything I personally would need it to. Okay, so if the voltage reading response time was a bit faster, that would be one thing that I personally would benefit from. But apart from that, I really can't fault it. For the price, I think you definitely get a good little multimeter packed with a good amount of features. And when compared to the Aneng 681, I do absolutely love this touchscreen design with the 683. And it does work really well. After all this testing I have done so far, the battery life is still going strong, and there's still no indication at all telling me that the battery is getting low either. So the battery life between charges is also extremely good. In fact, in the last 2 weeks, I have only charged it once, and that was when I unboxed it for the first time. So you can expect good results from the battery. Anyway guys, that is how the Aneng 683 Smart Multimeter works. And hopefully the examples I have demonstrated of it working in this video have been useful for anyone who is looking at purchasing one of these Aneng 683 multimeters for themselves. And that now brings us to the end of another video. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, then please like, share, comment and subscribe to the channel, where you can watch even more videos, which I upload every week. And I hope to see you all in the next video.